Good morning. My name is Teresa Crisanti, and I'm with the Illinois Restaurant Association, and I'd like to thank you for joining today's webinar on kitchen safety and learning how to prevent injuries and fires. During today's webinar, we'll hear from experts at Restaurant Technologies. Today's webinar is being broadcast in English, Spanish, and Mandarin Chinese. To listen in Spanish or Chinese, please use the interpretation button in your toolbar. This webinar is being presented by the Illinois Restaurant Association in partnership with the Cook County Small Business Source. Established to ensure businesses emerge from COVID-19 intact and positioned for growth, the Small Business Source connects small business owners with expert guidance and support. Services include no-cost business advising, resources, and events that connect small business owners with the community of advisors. For one-on-one business advising, sign up at cookcountysmallbiz.org. It's free and signing up is easy. Also, before we begin, I'd like everyone attending to know that the Illinois Restaurant Association remains a resource to you. Our staff is focused on providing guidance and assistance to restaurants, bars, caterers, and other hospitality businesses in Illinois as we all work to emerge and operate fully again. We send regular email updates to thousands of operators around the state with what you need to know for your business. And you can sign up for those on our website. For today's webinar, you can use the Q&A button in your toolbar to post your questions at any time during the presentation. Now at this time, I'd like to introduce our panelists. With us today are Mike Van Tine, Cole Geisel, and Pete McDonald. Our TI team, thank you for being here today, and please take it away.
All right. Thank you, Teresa. We appreciate your time. We appreciate everyone joining today. So for us, our agenda, we want to talk about the causes of the injuries in the kitchen. And then with that, we can take a deep dive into the workman comp claims that kind of go along with that. And then we'll follow up with the insurance side of the business, stuff that business owners and restaurant managers, it's another item we have to think about when it comes to finance. And then solutions for those causes, right? How do we correct those and make sure, as business owners, you don't have to worry about such injuries? And then as you get those solutions, you really can gain control of your operations. So what are those kitchen injury causes? When you think about it, a lot of times, it's slips, falls. In restaurants, you're thinking about cuts with the knife. So slips and falls, those floors in kitchens can really be slippery. So that last slide was showing fires. It's, the kitchen nightmares. We really just want to make sure that's something you don't have to worry about. But the truth is, it's a dangerous job. So we just want to make sure we're keeping everybody safe in your business. So today's hazards, right? It's kind of what we're used to when it comes to frying. So the oil, transporting fresh oil. That picture is showing those 35-pound jugs that your staff probably has to carry around, take it to the fryer. And a lot of times, as this guy is showing you, they're carrying 2 at a time just because to keep you balanced straight. So that could be 70 pounds. That's a lot of strain for your staff. So at that point, when they carry it over to the fryer, depending on how far away that is, then they have to lift it back up as well to dump it into the fryers, right? So it's a lot of strain on your staff. And then you're also kind of, possible oil spills when you're dumping it, lifting it up and over. After that, you're thinking about filtering. If your company's filtering oil currently, this picture is showing the, cone filtering aspect of it. So when it comes to that, another aspect of possible oil spills or burns, maybe the oil comes down and hits a staff member, bounces off the cone and hits you, right? So it's just aspects we have to think about. After that, maybe it's time to dump your oil. So draining the used oil. So when we're going in, a lot of times what we see is staff maybe just dumping it into a pot. That's what's available to them. It's what they have. And then the transporting it, right? So this is all just open. So it's possible to get burns and those spills that, make your floor slippery as well. We see this, it's very common, the transporting of the oil, right? So you have to find a way to get it to those grease tanks, whether that's in your loading dock or it's, across the street, at the end of the parking lot. So your staff has to find a way to transport it. So a lot of times they just find whatever's on wheels and, possibly take it all the way or have to carry it all the way out and then dumping it. So the disposing of the used oil. So it's those grease tanks that maybe you're you're used to. That just, as you look at them, they might have oil spills on top of them. It's another aspect of having to lift it really high up again. So lifting injuries is very common when it comes to that. Next slide, please. Right, so what I just discussed, we just wanted to kind of show you a visual, right? Kind of to make it day to day to actually, so you can see maybe what's more common of what you see in your restaurants. So it's kind of the, the dumping of the oil on the left is what I just talked about. Down below, dumping it into the oil or the grease tank. So this is just us showing you what we've seen. It can be a dangerous part of the job, but it's what, as we like to say, maybe we thought is the only way, and what you're used to. So we just want to look at possible solutions in the future to help get rid of these touch points. And right in the middle, I like to show, just because you can see the black stains, right? So you can almost see the journey of the oil, and a lot of times that spill, that's what we tend to see. So thank you. Next slide. And then maybe you see this. So this is kind of where grease builds up, right? So you're seeing it, the exhaust fans, the hoods, the grills, the fryers. So this is very common of what we tend to see. And maybe you just don't see it day to day. But it's just aspects that you have to think about when it comes to, the slides in the past of the fires. Grease tends to accumulate, and as it just keeps going, it just keeps going. So next slide, please. And this right here, this is more of an aspect that maybe you don't see on the daily basis. So you want to avoid this, the hood and flute aspect of your business where you just don't see on the daily, but it's where grease tends to build up a lot. It's those hard to reach areas that are frequently, not cleaned well, and deficiencies often go unnoticed. So right here, concerns frequently expressed, right? So when it comes to your current hood or flute cleaning procedures, a lot of times maybe you're hiring a company out to do that work. So there's concerns about safety or security in your business, right? How long is my doors open in the back? How long is my business open? Because maybe no one's there to oversee it. A lot of times it requires, obviously, restaurants to close overnight. And then grease on the roof in the parking lot, damage to the roof, right? So there's certain things you might not even know, the inconsistent results. You might not see it, and you really don't know what's going on. So when it comes to this, 59% of the fires originated in the kitchen or the cooking area. And then 22% of the fires had a failure to clean as a factor contributing to its ignition. Next slide, please. So when it comes to those workman comp contributors, and you can go to the next slide, sorry. So it's kind of those injuries we talked about earlier, right? So we're seeing those cuts, those burns, those falls, the slips, but what we really wanted to highlight here is 60% of the workman comp claims associated with the manual oil management. So kind of that procedure that we just discussed of, just manually having to dump the oil or fill the oil up, just because your staff really has to deal with oil in front of them. So that's what we see a lot of times when it comes to the workman comps, are those falls or slips because of grease, or the strains of having to lift the oil, and then burns, right? Just oil touching them. Next slide, please. So workers' compensation is costly. Anyone that's had to deal with it, I'm sure, knows that. So we did a survey with industry experts, right? So there's not much on this slide except just showing you who was involved, right? So OSHA, everybody knows OSHA, and there's restaurant specific data. So the next slide. When it comes to that, right? How often on average, are we dealing with workman's comp? So on average, a size restaurant has 4 claims per year. So one of those, sorry, can you go back? Yeah. One of those is just, lost time. So people actually having to take off of work. And then 3 is minor, so just medical claims. So when you see that, it can be costly for a business. So that, is about 46,000 per year. 42,000 of that is that one-time lost claim, and then 3 of those added up is 3,000. So it can be costly for your business, and it's just stuff that we want to make sure your business doesn't have to worry about. I'm going to pass it over to Pete, who kind of deals with our insurance side of the business.
Pete, you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that. My middle name's Mute. Pardon me when I do these, but anyhow, thanks, Cole. I'm a consultant with Restaurant Technologies. I've been working with them for about a year or so. My background's 30 plus years of insurance underwriting, and I've been chief underwriting officer of some companies and such. And I mentioned that only from the standpoint of having insured restaurants throughout my career. When I was an underwriter and then doing the different things I've done, the impact of these claims is so significant. Cole, one of the, if you could go back to that slide, if you don't mind, where it showed, go back, yeah, right there, that lost time claim, which is so someone's getting hurt and then they're going to be out of work for a while, right? That's lost time. So the medical is all paid. Lost time is paying for their wages when they're out of work. The average claim, pardon me, the average lost time claim in insurance is somewhere around $27,000. In restaurants, it's $42,000, which speaks to, when we underwrite and we look at frequency and severity and things like that, are a couple of buzzwords that we talk about. The severity of these claims, these oil-related claims, the grease-related claims, are so significant that just think about that, if you would, from 27,000 to 42,000, it's really, really quite significant. And so the seriousness of when these losses happen, to certainly the employee, they're out of work for a long time, all those kind of things, is really something to take note of. And the idea we talk about on an insurance and risk management basis is mitigation of exposure, mitigation of claims. How do we minimize the chance for that? And if you would move ahead on the slide, please. 60% of work comp claims are the result of slips, falls, strains, and burns, right? 59% of fires. So we're talking actually not just workers' comp here, but I wanted to mention the property side of things, the fire exposure, what's causing fires. And six out of 10 claims in restaurants are emanate from the kitchen. So and it's just very, very serious. When those claims happen, we see claims at $50,000. We see them at $700,000. How do we mitigate the chance for that happening? Not only does that have a huge impact on the restaurant location itself, but certainly we always look at from the standpoint of business and what we call business interruption insurance, which is, hey, this restaurant had a bad fire caused by oil or grease, and it's going to be 3 or 4, 6 months to repair and construction, all those kind of things. So not only is the business impacted from the standpoint of revenue, but all those employees and are out of work for a while. And so again, from what I do with the Restaurant Technologies Group is RT is a company about 25 years in business. They've got a fully automated oil management system that in terms of traditional, what Cole was talking about in terms of those pictures that show the traditional change in the way oil is handled today, RT's has fully automated it. So, and this is not a sales pitch by any means, please understand. I'm just talking again for all of you about the idea of risk mitigation. Again, if you would go on to the next slide, please. So workers' comp, property, increased security, all those things Cole was mentioning earlier about, that's what the two main products that RT has is this fully automated oil management system, really a push button deal. So generally in a restaurant of, let's say, where it's got 40 employees, 10 or 15 of those employees are generally every day, if they don't have the automated system, they're exposed to that hot oil, that slip and fall exposure, that material handling exposure, the carrying these hot oil 35-pound deals out to the rendering tank that's out behind the restaurant. That's a fully eliminated deal with RT's automated system. So as an underwriter, when what we're doing today with RT and its clients around the country is we're presenting all of this information to the current broker and also the insurance companies who are insuring Restaurant Technologies clients to inform them, educate them about this automated system and what's turning that what has turned out from that education process is when you're underwriting a restaurant, all of you as business owners know this from a standpoint of your premiums either going up or going down. But underwriting is kind of a 70% subjective process. So underwriters take a lot of information in before they decide on their pricing for the next year and things like that. But what we're doing today, again, is just to the points of this slide here, is we're presenting reasons, justification, if you will, about why the exposure with an automated system installed at the locations of the restaurants that produces a tremendously lower chance for claims. And underwriters are responding by giving what we call schedule credits, premium credits, somewhere from 10 to 20%. Again, just more of an education process. But when you're introducing fully automated versus frankly, the material handling exposure of employees doing this, it's just a different risk profile. And so we're having strong success throughout the country. One number I throw out quite a bit is the today there's about 1.1 million restaurant locations in the United States. Restaurant Technologies is installed in some 40,000 locations, so a relatively small percentage, right? But 40,000 still a lot. But what we're doing is we're contrasting, pardon me, we're contrasting RT's automated systems against all the other restaurants that underwriters are insuring. And that's what they're responding because they see this as a much lower risk, if you will. And that's how they correspondingly, are applying, again, these schedule credits. So if you'd go on to the next slide, please. Good stuff.
All
Mike,
right.
do you want to kick in? Or?
Yeah, I'll take it from here. Thank you, Pete. So everything that Cole and Pete had mentioned, we see all the possibilities of everything that can come. So we take that and go from problematic to automatic. So if you can continue on for me, please. Show you what we do. So what Restaurant Technologies offered, we're convenient, hassle-free oil management. What that means to our restaurants and our customers is it lowers your net operating costs. It reduces the risk of everything that was discussed earlier with workman's comp claims. It optimizes your oil usage and eliminates your oil supply disruption. It improves your employee morale and retention. And most importantly, you get that consistency with your food quality. When you tie all this together, kind of what it looks like is that it allows you to have clean oil. It has a safer kitchen environment. If your restaurant is using an automated system, that's going to be a lot safer for your staff to use. And you got someone that is on the fence or going to a job across the street that uses our system and you don't, that's where it kind of factors in, where they're going to try and keep themselves safe and maybe stick with that opportunity that's going to, minimize any type of risk. If you go to the next slide, please. So total oil management, we control kitchen chaos. That's one of the biggest things that we do. We help eliminate everything that we kind of talked about. What we do is we give you dependable, fresh bulk oil. We give you filtration options and oil usage that we'll kind of go over early or a little bit later. And then what we do is we do used cooking oil pickup and recycling. The next slide, I will show you a little bit of the diagram as well too. So we deliver your bulk fresh oil and we pull your used cooking oil in the same motion when our trucks deliver. What that eliminates is everything that you saw in the beginning. No longer would your staff have to fill up your buckets and walk them out to a rendering tank or put them on a container and wheel them out. Chicago has amazing winters that we all know and love. And, you get the snow outside, you get the ice, all that can impact workman's comp and someone in your employment getting injured. So we kind of simplify it so your staff can literally stand in front of your fryers and allow you to fill your oil into your fryer, you can filter your oil, and then you can dispose of your oil just by standing in front of it. So you no longer have to lift the 35-pound box to pour it in. Now you just grab a Adwan, which is like pumping gas in your car. You pull a trigger, the oil goes into your fryer. When you're ready to filter, a lot of restaurants and companies still choose not to filter. By filtering, what that does is that it cleans your oil. It allows you to extend your oil, because everyone knows, as of COVID has done so many impacts, you know, the commodity market value of oil has skyrocketed. So it's very important that you maintain and clean your oil to make sure that you're getting that oil consistency and quality of food flavor. Next slide, please. So how do we know about all this? As Pete had mentioned, we've been around for over 20 years. We have 1,000+ employees, 41 locations across the country. What that means to everyone in the state of Illinois is we work with a lot of customers that have multiple locations and units, right? So if you have some locations here in the Chicago market, but you also have grown and expanded to Arizona, Texas, Florida, wherever it might be, with using RT, you get that consistency across the board. You don't have to use different vendors, different providers of oil management. We can provide that across all these different states and opportunities, minus the Dakotas and Montana area. So that's kind of where we come in and can be a game changer of keeping everyone safe and in your kitchens, and then streamlining the back of the house a little bit safer and more convenient. Next slide, please. This is kind of just a little snapshot of who our customer base is. You know, we obviously work with the independent one location restaurants is our bread and butter, and then we multi-units to everything all the way up to McDonald's, Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Shake Shack. It's just kind of a little, you know, who we are, who our customer base is, and how we can help everyone. Next slide, please. So we talked a little bit about the oil part of it. Cole mentioned, you know, with the flues and the hoods and how all that grease buildup can impact everything. This is our solution to that. Our product's called Automist. So Automist, what you do is, if you think about when you're in a grocery store and you're walking by the produce section and all of a sudden the mister goes off in the lettuce department, that's what this does. So if you imagine when you are hiring and you have someone that's coming in to clean your hoods, and they come in on day one, they have to come in after your restaurant closes. They tarp off and maintain a little bit of a cleanliness in the kitchen, and then it's all power washing and it creates a big mess. So the moment they are done and you start up your kitchen the next day, what happens then? Well, that buildup of all that grease that they just cleaned off and that power washing starts all over again. And it's going to continue to build up until that next 3-month power washing cleaning continues. So this system eliminates that. It cleans on a daily basis. We have a control box that you can put in there and what hour of the day that you want to have your hoods done and cleaned. It mixes in with a FDA approved chemical that cleans everything inside and then comes down into a little collection bin. It eliminates all your third-party hood cleanings. It prevents all that buildup of your grease inside of your flue, which is a direct cause of fires that happen inside there as well.
Yeah, Mike, if I can join in real quick, the one thing, if from a risk management standpoint, if everybody keeps in mind, is what Automist is doing today is it certainly eliminates, number one, eliminates the need to have a third-party vendor come in and shut things down, if you will, for the restaurant for the 4, 5, 6 hours. Most of the vendors, or I'm sorry, the hood and duct contractors come in, and those chemicals they're using are caustic and toxic and things like that. So there's a food poisoning exposure oftentimes that when they're coming in and cleaning the flue, the hood and duct, that comes down onto the cooking surfaces. We've seen some of those in terms of insurance claims. But the main thing I wanted to mention too is as Mike spoke to about let's say somebody's coming in quarterly to do that. These third-party vendors are coming in quarterly. Well, they literally, we talk about risk management wise, we talk about bare metal clean, how clean the flue, the hood and duct system gets. When you're using an outside vendor like that, they literally have 4 days a year is bare metal clean, right? Because they just cleaned it. And then as Mike mentioned, the next day that starts to accumulate grease again. Automist is a system that runs every day. You set it's set in terms of the spray happens maybe 4 or 5 times throughout a 24-hour period. It's every day, 365 days of bare metal clean. So again, from an exposure standpoint, and this is what underwriters are responding to, is when you've got auto mist in there, we see typically something like 65% of fire losses, as we saw in an earlier slide, emanate from the kitchen. And almost all of that comes from grease or oil related exposures. So it's a really, really significant change to, not only the restaurant itself, but just the risk itself of these fires happening. So just want to mention that again, that's what, and all of your insurance companies, pardon me, who you're all insured with today, this is the information we provide to them through your broker. No need to change your broker, no need to change your insurance company. It's really an education process to let them know that these automated systems are in place and are doing what we're explaining right now. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So this is kind of a little diagram that shows with all the cooking. So your biggest ones would be like your flat top grill stations, your fryer area. When you get all that airborne grease that goes up into your flue, and you get that buildup and accumulation, it also depends on, some restaurants own their building outright, some of them lease it. So sometimes you have the responsibility of the roof and the fans that are on top. So when you have all this airborne grease that goes up into your flues, onto your roof and onto your fan, it causes damage. And if you own the building, you're on the hook and you're responsible for repairing the roof and the fan damage. And with the automated auto mist system, it eliminates all that airborne opportunities that can contribute to damage on the roof. We follow all the fire code requirements. We come and do the hood inspections to make sure everything looks status quo to the fire department's requirements. And as Pete mentioned, there's a lot of insurance benefits to this as well. Next slide, please. So this is kind of a good slide that shows, maybe put one more button and I'll give there we go. So this kind of shows hood cleaning opportunities, right? So if you see the 0 to 3, 6, 9, 12 months on the bottom, and then you have the zigzagging line. What this represents is when you have someone come in and do that power washing of your flue and your hoods and everything on day one, you see that gradual steep incline there that goes up for the 3-month period. And then they will clean it again, and then it drops back down to a lower risk part of fire. With our system, you see that one line horizontal across the bottom. It doesn't go up, it doesn't go down. It is a daily cleaning that eliminates anything that might happen to increase a fire risk of, any type of flame that ignites and goes up in that flue. There's a bad opportunity of a fire that can happen, and we're trying to help avoid anything with that, because I know everyone puts all their love, sweat, and tears into their own business here. Next slide, please. So this is just a couple things. There's 1 million plus restaurants, 15.6 million workers, but there's only 2,500 hood and duct cleaning companies out there. So there's not a lot that can help out, and not all of them are all expertise. So the bottom line is very few restaurants across this country are being serviced regularly, and that's where a lot of the fires and bad things can happen. So that's where we try and help out. Next slide, please. So then we go into what we call total oil management, kind of jumping back into the oil side of it, of how it's important to manage your oil and to monitor your oil. We provide this software that's called TOM, Total Oil Management. And what it does is that if you look at a box up on top, before oil management training, and then below that is after oil management training. So a lot of people don't know how they're filtering, how they're managing their oil, when they're dumping their oil, and all of this helps expose that and inform owners of what is going on in their kitchens when they're not around. So if you have someone that's looking at your oil and they're not communicating with each other and they're dumping their oil, that's where you see those little boxes there with a big gap. Each of the blue circles represents one day of where they are at their oil, and then you see them all over the place. Sometimes they go 4 days before they drop, looking at this one, like 600 pounds of oil, then another 5 days, then 2 days, then 4 days. There's a lot of inconsistencies with it. When you go down to the bottom one, when you're using the system and you're filtering on a daily basis and you're topping off when needed, this is the healthy balance in the line that you're looking for that helps reduce your oil usage, which obviously, like I mentioned earlier, the cost of oil has skyrocketed. So we're trying to help use your oil in a more price conscious system here. And then just to kind of give you an example, one customer I was working with, they came over and they're like, hey, we're going through a lot more oil when we switched over to you. So we kind of dove into this to figure out what was going on, and their staff wasn't talking to each other. So the night crew was topping off and filling up all their oil. And then the morning guys were coming in and they were dumping all the oil and filling up with fresh oil. So there was no communication there. The owners of the restaurant brewery did not have this information in front of them. So they didn't know where their oil was going. And ultimately they were just throwing away clean, fresh oil. And so what this does is it allows you to see your daily, your weekly, and your monthly oil usage, and allows you to, put together standard SOPs for your staff of how to treat and maintain your oil, and, go from there. So next slide, please. Reporting insights and capabilities. These are kind of some of the things I touched on: your oil usage trends and alerts, your customer points, oil management training. We provide all staff training. I always tell everyone it's a great opportunity to come in and say, hey, this is how we're going to do oil moving forward. Create your SOPs. We're going to filter daily. We're going to test our oil before we dump it. No longer are we going to dump oil on Friday because it's Friday. We had a fish fry, whatever it might be. We're going to test oil. We're going to make sure that oil quality is still good and consistent, because when you have someone coming into your restaurant on a Monday, you want their food to be the same if they come in on a Thursday, because you have one opportunity to create a menu of quality oil that's going to produce great quality food when you have a first-time customer. If it tastes fishy or it's old oil on there, it affects your food, and then you might not get that repeat business. There's also sustainability impact. We recycle all of our used cooking oil. A quick little story on that is we have our depot in Des Moines, Iowa. That is the first, and there'll be many more to follow. But what we're doing is we're working with Chevron. We're taking our used cooking oil, we're recycling in that and putting it into biodiesel, and then ultimately it's going back into our trucks. So all of our trucks in our fleet in Iowa are all being powered and driven around by used cooking oil. So it's something that we love, and we're moving towards that across the country. And then next slide, please. This is kind of just a little screenshot of what it might look like for business owners that have multiple locations or different regions. It's a great tool to use. You can look at all of your opportunities of all your different restaurants, of where you guys have what your oil usage is on a daily basis. Are they all matching up? Like, why is one using more oil than the other one? This is where you can kind of dive in and figure out everything. It's viewable from every device. It's just a website that you go to or you log on, and it pulls all your individual locations on there. So it's a great tool to track and to figure out where your oil is going. And that's it. Next slide, please. So we kind of, just a little recap here, we're trying to help eliminate everything that we talked about, the possibilities of injuries in the kitchen, reducing that risk. Instead of handling oil manually and doing the old system that everyone knew from back in the day, to automating your process, to making it safer for your staff, more convenient, easier. Consistent food quality is going to drive profitability. All that is tied into going away from the old ways of, pouring and lifting and dumping, to pushing a button and automating it. So hopefully this is where we can help inform you guys and try and help with eliminating anything with the risk of injuries. And then Pete's got a great content of how we're able to just educate. There's nothing that we do or anything but just educate customers of, when you go to an automated oil system or an automated hood cleaning system, the possibility of you reducing your insurance and premium for that location is great. And it allows you to communicate to the insurance company that you're using safer methods in your kitchen, which is going to result in less injuries and less money out of pocket. Next slide. And that concludes everything we were kind of talking about. Hopefully we answered some questions during that process, but we'd love to provide any feedback or answer any questions everyone has.
Thank you guys so much. That was great. I will just go ahead and start with the questions here. So one of them from Gabriella says, I'm an ARL for Burger King. I used to manage a restaurant with the system, loved it. But back then was no hood cleaning process. How can we get in contact to see if I can get the system, at least in my biggest location?
This slide will help right here. Appreciate the feedback, and I'm glad that you have used our system and you love it. So we definitely can. Sorry, we definitely can help out, and we cover basically anywhere in the state of Illinois here. That's not too remote. So our coverage for helping people out is amazing. So please reach out to us and we can answer that specifically for you afterwards.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question, and this will probably go to Pete. On average, how much has workers' comp claims decreased for businesses that have used this for over 1 year?
Great question. Thank you. So today, again, I think I'd mentioned earlier, about 80% of workers' comp claims in restaurants happen in the kitchen. And claim activity on any account is just really it's a happenstance kind of thing if it happens. What we've seen and the loss analysis that I've done is the frequency of claims just dramatically reduces because you're not exposing, again, if you think about a regular restaurant with these 40 employees, let's say 15 or 20 of them, where most of the claims, 15 or 20 employees might be in the back kitchen, they're just not exposed to this hot oil anymore. It's 100% eliminated. We like to say what the total oil management system does is eliminate the most dangerous and difficult job in a restaurant. And that's what it does. It's really a plug and play kind of thing in terms of push buttons once the systems are installed. So there's not a real hard and fast answer to your question, which is a great question. It's just the exposure side of claim frequency, if you will. And that certainly multiplies by the number of locations you've got. It's one thing for a 1 or 2 or 3 location account, a 30 or 100 location account, the frequency of claims is going to be raised just from a statistics standpoint. But I would conservatively say easily 60 or 70% lower exposure to claims, if not more.
Thanks so much, Pete. That really helped answer the question. So I know we have a lot of small businesses that are members of ours, and is this system geared towards them as well, or is this more for franchises?
100% geared towards their independent one location restaurant. That is what Cole and I do. We focus mainly on independents from anywhere from 1 to 25 locations. We have different layers that cover national accounts and everything like that, but Cole and I specifically handle 1 to 25 locations, and it is a great system for everyone, and it is affordable for everyone. It's definitely a cost neutral type of solution for everything that you're doing for just boxes of oil, and improves all your safety and everything that comes with it. So yeah, I mean, it definitely, to answer your question, we focus on one location restaurants on a daily basis.
That's great, thank you. And someone else asked, how often will it typically need repairs?
So for the oil part of it, we have information from a telemetry device that kind of monitors the system. The level of oil that you have in there. Once it gets down to a specific par level, we automatically route it for delivery. So we take it out of your hands. We have techs that run around all the time that help with any type of service that may be required. They run pretty self-sufficient. The only time that you would have someone out there is if there's like a line that needs to be repaired or clogged or something that might come up. For the AutoMist part of it, we actually are responsible for the when the fire department, the city, everyone requires an inspection of your hoods, right? To make sure that they're being cleaned and maintained. And you have to put that sticker on top of your your hood there to make sure that it's done. Our guys take care of that. We make sure that everything is done. If there's a repair that needs to be done, that's not with our system, we'll let you know, that help out with. But for the most part, they run. We have techs that do spot checks on everything, and we maintain it.
Great, thank you so much. And then I have almost like 3 questions on fires. So what types of restaurants are at higher risks of having grease fires? And then how typical are fires in the average kitchen?
So those are great questions. A lot of that has to do with, you know, where the food, so you're not going to get a lot of buildup from a pizza oven or anything like that. Grill grease tops, fryers, a lot of that stuff where you have that airborne grease that can create that buildup into the flues, that's where you can get the fires from. That's where it can spark something where, you know, a flame from something in the kitchen gets into that, then it spreads like wildfire. And there was a case study that was done with our company a long time ago before this product came out in Pittsburgh, where there was a fire that sparked inside of the flue and it traveled and no one knew about it. And the fire department had come in and they didn't recognize that there was any fire, but it was up in the ceiling. It was, you know, creating havoc up in there. And ultimately what happened is that it unfortunately, you know, caused a lot of death to the fire department because everything collapsed on top of them. Because when you're doing these hood cleanings, it's really hard to get all the way back in there when you're power washing. And our system helps eliminate all the stuff that you can't see with your eye of that buildup. So there is a lot that happens that you can't see that will, you know, eliminate any of that. But you definitely, anyone that's got the grill tops, the fryers, those are a lot of your airborne grease that can cause the most damage when a fire occurs.
Thank you. And then a question from Glenn. Do you supply a certificate of insurance adding the restaurants you serve as an additional insured by way of endorsement with waiver if subjugation primary non-contributory language? Sorry, I'm just trying to read.
Right, I'll take that one. But so the
Does that make sense?
sorry. Oh, let me.
Does it make sense? Okay, go ahead.
It does. No, I think I understand. Having done certificates of insurance forever and waiver of subrogation, RT will certainly. So when a restaurant owner is asking someone to be added as an additional insured, RT's systems itself, it's not really a need to add as an additional insured, because what there's a big misnomer in insurance about an additional insured. What an additional insured technically only provides is if a company is named as an additional insured, well, then they get notified if the insurance coverage lapses or cancels or whatever it might be. It's not actually additional insurance you're getting being named as an additional insured. Waiver of subrogation, that's really up to the owner's agent to make that case for the restaurant owner. And we look at what we call insurable interest. What is that? Insurable interest to waive subrogation rights, and subrogation rights are all part of the insurance contract itself, whether it's general liability or workers' comp and things. So I would rely on each of your insurance agents for them to explain and then kind of define what the insurable interest is.
Glenn, I hope that answers it for you. And how long does training take to learn this system?
So great question. So we, when we do an install, like we start at 6, 7 a.m. in the morning, we work backwards from the fryer. So a lot of, you know, no one wants to lose and shut down their kitchen for an install, and we don't do that at all. So an install will come in, we'll be out of your way in the kitchen area for your lunch service. And then we set up a staff training after the installation where a technician will come in with everyone that wants to be involved, and we'll show them how the system works. We'll show them best practices. We'll show them suggestions of how to filter. It doesn't matter what type of fryer you have. If you have built-in filtration, we provide you with a toggle switch where you push a button and your oil would fill up when it's empty. You leave it neutral, and it allows you to use your filtration system in your fryer to filter and clean that oil. And then it'll bring it back up and ready to go. And then when your oil is spent and you need to dispose of it, you push the other side of the button, and we have lines that are connected to the back of your fryer where the oil will be sent back into the waste tank. If you do not have that type of fryer, we provide you with a roll-up filter box, and that roll-up filter box would allow you to dump your oil down into that filter box. Your oil would filter, put it back in, and then when your oil is bad and needs to go to the waste tank, you would drop it down in there. We have a direct connect line that attaches to it, sends it back to the waste tank. And then when you're filling your oil, we have an add wand that's mounted next to your fryers. You just pull a trigger like you're literally like you're pumping gas into your car, and that's how you would fill up the oil. So Staff training part of it is great. It's really easy. And then, you know, if you have turnover and you're like, hey, a lot of the people that were focusing on this have left, just let us know. We come back in and we redo the staff training with you as needed. And then we also provide you with that TOM software where as many people as you need, whether it's a kitchen operations, a owner, whatever. We just set you up on that, and you can walk through that with myself or Cole, and we can show you how to read that properly so you can manage your oil business.
Well, it's been great. Thank you so much, guys. I think those are the end of our questions. It's great to hear that people already love the system or reporting back. And I just want to thank you for being here. I'd like to thank the Cook County Small Business Source for their continued efforts to provide resources, information, and business advising to small businesses. And then following the conclusion of this webinar, attendees will receive an email with links to the webinar recording as well as the presentation. Cole, Mike, Pete, thank you all so much. It's been great, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. Pleasure to
Thank
meet
you.
everybody.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you for having us. We appreciate it.
Have a good
Of
day.
course. All right,
Take
bye-bye.
care.